Hello and welcome back to Daniel Drives. I'm Daniel Achterhuis and today I am in Liverpool, stood next to this, a very, very green, almost like a frog green, Fiat Brava, and it is very cool. This isn't any old Brava though. This Brava is owned by Matty Manning himself. Matty Manning is host of the Matty's Cars YouTube channel, and basically he is my rival, effectively. He has a fantastic YouTube channel where he reviews all sorts of strange cars. And he'll hate me for saying this, but he is like a young Clarkson. And he's also a co-host of the Car Talk podcast with Bayley Prickett from YouTube as well. And this is his car. This is Matty's Brava. And today he's drove me over to Liverpool because I'm doing some filming for his channel as well, which you'll see in a matter of a few weeks. And in the meantime, while he's doing some setting up and filming, he said, Daniel, why don't you film a review of my new Brava? Because he's only had this for a few days, if that. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I am a Fiat enthusiast. I absolutely love Fiats. So how could I ever turn down a review of a Fiat like this? A Fiat so strange. So welcome to Daniel Drives. Remember to subscribe and follow me on Instagram and Twitter at DanielCars05. This is going to be a very interesting video. So in true Daniel Drives fashion, I've brought along the very, very famous now Daniel Drives book of notes. It comes everywhere with me for every car review I do or any sort of nerdy video I ever make. And now it's going with me to Liverpool because I'm going to be honest, even me as a Fiat enthusiast, if you're not a regular viewer, I have a Panda 100 HP. I like Fiats. I don't really know a lot about this, the Fiat Brava. Until Matty messaged me, sent a photo and said, I bought a Brava if you want to review it. I was like, I don't actually know anything about the Brava. So I did some research this morning and yesterday evening, and I've put some little pieces of nerdy information in the Daniel Drives book of notes. So let's start off, first of all, with the production run. So it came out in 1995 and the production ran until 2001 for the European market. And this being a Y-Reg is around 1999-2000, so a very late model. And what's interesting is upon launch, it actually was awarded with the European Car of the Year award, which is quite an amazing award really, especially for a Fiat to win. So Fiat celebrated this by actually releasing an anniversaire special edition, I believe, of the Fiat Brava, which is quite cool. Another piece of information is the Brava chassis spawned the Fiat Maria, the estate and saloon car that not many people know, but the people who do know it love it, if that makes any sense whatsoever. The Fiat Maria is a lovely car, and the chassis of the Fiat Maria is the same chassis as this in the Brava. Another interesting thing is that the Fiat Multipla, which is, again, a very 50-50 car, so you either love it or hate it, a bit like Marmite maybe, that came out in around 1998, it was also based on the Brava chassis. So the chassis that's on this is very, very similar to the chassis that you would find if you strip down a Fiat Multipla. That is a cool piece of information. And if I was Matty, I'd be just going around with a t-shirt that says that on. That's really cool. So as I said, discontinued in 2001 and later replaced by the Fiat Stilo. And then again, other models like the Panda coming back and various other cars too. NCAP, Euro NCAP safety rating, it got awarded with 2 stars. So possibly it's not the safest car, but I'm not sure. For the time, it's fine. So yeah, and just don't crash it, I suppose. That's my one piece of information. And an interesting quote that I wrote down by Jeremy Clarkson when he road tested this back in the late 90s for old Top Gear. He said, quote, "This is how an ordinary car can look like if you put a bit of effort into it." Now that is a very, very interesting piece of information, and I completely agree with what Clarkson said back in the day. It is an amazing design car. I think really one of the nicest aspects of the Fiat Brava design is the rear end. I mean, just look at these sort of 3 slatted rear light design. I really like that. That looks really nice. And it's a design aspect that's quite distinctive. So say this car comes out, the cars that are around at the time in the late 90s, early noughties, let's say Mondeos and Astras and cars like that, pretty vanilla. But you see one of these Bravas on the road and you see that little design piece there and you will recognize it as a Fiat Brava. And it's little things like that that makes a car popular. Or if it's not popular, then it'll make a car loved by the people who bought them. And it just gives it a bit of a chance as well in future of becoming a bit of a classic car too, because it's got that talking point. And the talking point of this car, for me particularly, is that rear light design. I love it. And just the whole rear design of the car just really works nicely, in my opinion. It's got the old design Fiat badge here, which you see here. And actually, a little fun fact, in my Fiat Panda videos, you'll notice in the thumbnail, I actually tend to put the old Fiat logo design, just because I think it looks so nice. And I think Fiat should probably bring it back and give it a bit of a modern touch. Another thing I really like as well is down here, is the Fiat branded mud flaps. I'll do a bit of B-roll so I can show you close up, but I really like that. Just the overall design of this car is really nice. Another thing that's really nice is the interior. So let's climb aboard. Right, the Fiat Brava interior. I actually really like it. It's comfortable. I mean, we've just come from Nantwich to Liverpool in this car at motorway speeds, and it's genuinely comfortable. We'll talk about the engine just after this, but in terms of comfortableness, it's actually really nice. The seats are spongy like late 90s cars used to be. The layout, everything's fine. The radio's nice and easy to use. The gear shift feels nice. Everything about it just feels nice and to hand. And we're talking about this, me and Matty were talking about this on the way here. Fiat spent so much money in the external design of this car that they kind of ran out of money for the interior design. But I'll show you again with some B-roll. I think they really made the most out of the money they had, because the interior is nice. I really like the design of this interior. And I think for a tall person too, it really is fine. The headroom is perfect. It's made even better actually by one thing this car was spec'd with, and that is up there. Ladies and gentlemen, this Fiat Brava was fitted with an electronically opening sunroof. Just look at that. Climbing aboard the back of the Brava. The front driver's seat is in Matty's position, and there's a bit of a sort of sacrifice in legroom. There isn't much, but I mean, I'm 6'2", so it's kind of a harsh test really. But I'm going to say that legroom can be fine if you make it fine. You just have to have a word with the driver in front of you and say, do you mind moving your seat up a bit? In terms of headroom, again, it's not the best actually. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm going to be really sort of motoring journalisty here and say that the headroom could be better if you're in the back. But then again, I'm 6'2", right? It is a harsh test. If you've got kids and stuff, they're going to be completely fine in the back of this car. And they're going to be even better by the fact it is a 5-seater. You have a 5th buckle, which means you can transport 5 people. There we go. In case you didn't know that. Yeah, the back of this car is okay. Let's have a look at the boot of the Fiat Brava. It's actually really surprising, but what I really want to focus your eyes on right now is the key for this Brava, because it is so 1990s and so wacky Italian. Let me just come here and show you this key. This key is just so Fiat. Brown plastic key with the old Fiat logo design. I really like that, but I need to show you the boot because the boot's really surprising. Obviously very old-fashioned. Got to put the key in to open the boot. Boot goes up, and there is your boot space. I'm going to say that boot space isn't bad at all, but we can test it out by just literally climbing in, shall we? Matty, you'll be watching this and going, my God, why didn't I get some other YouTube person to come and help me out with my video? But no, this is the Daniel Drives way. This is how I test boot space, by, quite frankly, climbing in the back. And I wonder if I can actually put the boot lid down. There we go. See you soon. So then, let's start this car up and just see how it sounds, shall we? Give it the proper sound check. Check it's in neutral. We're all set. Brown Fiat key in the ignition. Steering lock. And there we go. That is what the Fiat Brava sounds like. Let's walk around the car and see what it sounds like from different angles. First thing I've really got to say is how quiet it is. When you're sat in the car idle at a traffic light, you could almost forget it's on. This has got a 1.2 litre petrol engine, and it produces enough power, all the power you'll ever need really, especially around town. If you're on motorways and stuff, it will take a while to get to national speed limit, but around town it is fine. You will have enough power to get about, and it just seems like a really smooth engine. These engines in this era Fiat were very strong. I know people have this view about Fiats being really unreliable, but as a Fiat owner, Matty can maybe speak for this as well, they're not that bad. They're not that bad at all. And genuinely, if you get in a good one, if you get a good example, you're not going to have many problems at all. So I'm really impressed actually by this engine. It's very smooth, it's very linear. and just incredibly quiet. So there we are then, as the beautiful sunset behind me does its thing. What do I think of the Fiat Brava? Well, as somebody who yesterday really didn't give it much thought and knew nothing about it, I am now a fan of this car. Whenever anybody mentions a Brava, or say if I see a Brava on Twitter or something like that, I'm going to pay it some attention, because this is a truly lovely car. And this example as well has got to be up there, one of the best in the country. It's really, really, really nice. 80,000 miles, I think, roughly as well, which is not bad at all for a car that's over 20 years old. So I'd like to say a huge thank you to Matty for letting me have a look around this car. I'm about to go in there and do some filming for something on his channel. So make sure you're subscribed to Matty's Cars on YouTube. It is hilarious and you will not regret it. And make sure you give the Car Talk podcast a listen. I know, as rivals, I'm not supposed to be saying that. I'm supposed to be saying, subscribe to this one. Don't look at any of Matty's stuff, but he's let me have a look around his Fiat, and anybody who lets me have a look around their Fiat is a good person in my eyes. So thank you so much for listening to this this video, or watching this video rather. It's like I'm on a podcast. I really like this car. It's been a good video to film. Just a quick walk around, no drive or anything. It's purely just having a look around and a chat around the overall design. If you like these videos and want to see more, then make sure you subscribe to Daniel Drives, because there's going to be more content. Rest assured. It's gone a bit quiet recently because of college and work and other commitments as well, but I'm going to do everything in my power to bring back the channel back to sort of regular uploads, and it won't be long until I'll be driving too. So that is very exciting. So subscribe and follow me on social media at DanielCars05. Thanks again to Matty. See you soon. Bravo the Brava. Sorry, I realised I didn't fit that pun in there, so I put it in the end. Sorry. Brava, because I'm going to be honest, it's a car that I've always liked and a car that I've recognised, and there's a car coming. A van.